The smell of the oven is thinner than it used to be. You have fired it every dawn for 12 years, and for most of those years, the smell was wheat. This morning it is barley. You notice the absence before you notice the smell. The street outside is dark. The oven's mouth is the only light on your face. This is you, a baker in Carthage, March 146 BC. By the time the sun sets, you will have cut your own braid into a wicker basket bound for the city's last catapults. You will eat your evening ration standing up. In 6 weeks, your city will not exist. Everything you have been told about the destruction of Carthage is incomplete. Today, we decode the real one. Carthage, March 146 BC. For 3 years, the city has been under siege by a Roman army led by Scipio Aemilianus. Before the war, roughly 500,000 people lived on this peninsula. Today, after 3 years of starvation, disease, and combat losses, perhaps 200 to 300,000 remain. The fine wheat that made Carthage a breadbasket of the Mediterranean is gone from the market. What people eat now comes from the militia office. Coarse barley, distributed by household token, in fractions of what any of them ate before the war. From above, the city is a peninsula cut hard against the Bay of Tunis, the seaward wall to the north, the Roman siege lines pressed tight to the south. Inside the walls, on the slopes below the central citadel, is the Byrsa quarter. This is the city that produced Hannibal, 70 years after his victory at Cannae, 1 generation after his death. In 6 weeks, the final assault will begin. It will last 6 days. And on that hill, in a narrow street below the citadel, you are firing your oven for the day. You do not know that the story people will tell about your city, centuries from now, will be a lie. You do not know that 6 weeks from now, a Roman general will stand where your house stands and weep. You wake before the dawn light. The room above the bakery is cold. You have slept in your clothes for 2 winters now, because sitting up to dress is an effort you have learned to save. You sit on the edge of the pallet. The stone floor under your feet is colder than your feet. Downstairs in the shop, the oven is banked from the night before. You feed it. You wait for the coals to catch. Your breakfast is a small clay bowl of barley gruel. The grain is coarse. The gruel is thin enough that you can see the pale clay of the bowl through it when you tilt it. It has been salted from the municipal stores. The salt is sharper than the grain. You drink it standing at the counter, and it is warm in your chest for perhaps 20 seconds before the warmth is gone. Your daughter comes down the wooden stair. 15, silent, competent. Her hair is still long and tied at the neck with a strip of undyed wool. She sits at the counter and drinks her own bowl of gruel with the same steady motion, and neither of you speaks. Your husband died at the seaward wall 2 years ago. Your older son is at that wall now, with the citizen militia. She goes to the oven. You pull the sacks of barley from the shelf. The shelves are more empty than full. By first light, the ration line is already forming outside your door. Fewer than 40 faces today. Before the siege, there were 200, and one of the faces in the line has news. Your daughter hands out the bread. 1 coarse barley round per household token. The barley is dark, almost gray at the crust. The customers take them without speaking and turn and go. For an hour, the 2 of you work in silence. The oven fires, cools slightly between batches, fires again. You pull the peel, slide the rounds onto the counter, and your daughter passes them over. The barley dust settles on your forearms. The dust does not smell like wheat dust used to smell. Under all of this, at the edge of hearing, is the sound the whole city has learned to ignore. From beyond the seaward wall, a low industrial rhythm of masonry, sledgehammers striking stone. It has been there for weeks. Roman engineers cutting. Everyone in Bursa hears it without hearing it. At mid-morning, the sound stops. You notice the absence before your daughter does. The barley round is halfway to the counter in your hand. You hold it there. In the street outside, the ration line has gone quiet. A militia runner arrives 10 minutes later. He is 19, sweating in the cool air, dust on his tunic. "The tunnels are through," he says. "Roman siege engineers have brought them within 100 meters of the seaward wall. The final assault may come within weeks." He takes his ration and continues on his rounds. An elderly widow from 3 streets over is next in line. She used to buy the fine wheat loaves for her son's wedding feast. The son died in the 2nd year. She takes the coarse barley round from your daughter's hand and holds it flat against her chest before she turns and walks away. And then, from the direction of the central temple, comes the sound you have been expecting for a week. The women are gathering. It is time. You made it this far. Good. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you something. One of the most famous facts about the destruction of Carthage is that Rome salted the earth so nothing would grow. It was invented in the 20th century, not by any ancient historian. And I'm going to name the paper that proved it. Subscribe to Decoded by Jack. Stay with me. By early afternoon, the oven is banked. You rake the coals to the back wall and close the iron door. It will hold heat until the morning. You wipe your hands on the cloth at your belt. Your daughter is already at the door. You walk together up the narrow street toward the temple courtyard. From every street of Bursa, other women are walking the same direction. No one runs, no one speaks. The action was called a week ago through the militia office and the temple. The women have come at the appointed hour in silence. In the courtyard, 3 wicker baskets have been set on the flagstones. Around them, 2 women from the militia workshop waiting. On a low table, a row of bronze knives laid out clean. Your daughter goes first. She kneels. She unties the strip of undyed wool at her neck. She takes the knife from the woman at the table. She cuts her hair short and hands the lengths to the woman, who places them in the second basket. Then the braid has been coiled at the base of your skull since you were 20. 18 years. You take the knife. You cut. The braid comes loose in your hand, and its weight surprises you. Heavier than you expected, warm at the root end, where it was against your scalp a moment before. You place it in the basket. The basket is already half full, with lengths of dark gray and red hair, the anonymous lengths of anonymous women. This is not grief. This is manufacture. The fiber will be spun into bowstring, and the bowstrings will arm the last catapults on the seaward wall. It is quiet defiance in the shape of work. By late afternoon, the basket is full. It will be at the catapult workshop by nightfall. The sun begins to set over the harbor. You walk home with your daughter. The wind on the back of your neck is a sensation you have not felt in 2 decades. By evening, the militia office has distributed the ration. You collect yours at the door. A cup of watered wine, 3 dried figs, a small round of coarse bread. The figs are sweet and old. They come from a storehouse that will not be replenished. You eat standing at the counter. Sitting takes energy you do not have. The wine goes down warm and thin. The bread is dense, the crust dark, the salt sharper than the grain. Your daughter eats beside you, her cropped hair strange at the edge of your vision. Neither of you speaks. The household slave has not been fed for 3 days. She may not survive the week. Your daughter goes to the pallet against the far wall. She lies down, still dressed, and turns her face to the stone. Within minutes, her breathing changes. You do a last check of the shop. The oven is banked, the coals raked to the back wall, still glowing under the ash, still warm, still viable for the morning firing. If there is a morning firing, the sacks on the shelf hold enough barley for 2 more days. You lie down on your own pallet. You do not undress. Outside your window, the city is quiet in a way it has never been quiet before. No hammers, no prayers, no footsteps in the street. Rome is at the gates. That is the day. Now, let me tell you what almost no one outside of a specific corner of ancient history knows about it, starting with a myth that has been repeated for a century and never happened. Decoded number 1. Rome never salted the earth. Here is what you probably heard if you heard anything about the fall of Carthage. That Rome salted the earth, plowed the fields, sowed salt so nothing would ever grow again. It's the most repeated fact about the destruction of Carthage. And it never happened. Polybius, who was physically present as an advisor to Scipio, does not mention it. Appian doesn't. Livy doesn't. Diodorus doesn't. Cicero doesn't. No ancient source records the event. The story first appears in early 20th century popular history without citation. R.T. Ridley traced its origin in a 1986 paper in Classical Philology and found no ancient basis. And here's the punchline. 122 years later, Rome resettled the site as Carthago Julia. It became one of the largest cities of the empire. Hard to do on salted earth. Decoded number 2. The women were the war factory. Here is what you probably picture when you picture a siege. Men on the walls, women hiding indoors, waiting to be widowed or enslaved. Passive, peripheral. That's part of the story. But the women of Carthage were also something else. Appian, writing in the 2nd century AD from earlier sources, tells us what happened. As the siege closed, the women of the city cut their hair in mass, publicly, in coordinated action. The hair was spun into fiber, and the fiber became bowstring and torsion cable for the city's last catapults. The same practice is attested 3 centuries later at the siege of Aquileia in the Historia Augusta. This wasn't grief. It was manufacturing labor, a combat support workforce, keeping the artillery firing in the final months of a war. That's not the picture most of us carry. Decoded number 3. The Roman general wept and quoted Homer. Here is what you probably imagine when you imagine a Roman general at the moment of total victory. Cold satisfaction, efficiency, a soldier watching a job well done, not what happened. Polybius, the Greek historian, was physically present at the destruction of Carthage as tutor and personal advisor to Scipio Aemilianus. He recorded what he saw. As the city burned, Scipio wept, openly. Then he turned to Polybius and he quoted the Iliad, Book 6, lines 448 to 449. The day shall come in which our sacred Troy and Priam and the people of Priam shall perish. Polybius asked him what he meant, and Scipio told him he was afraid that Rome would one day suffer what he had just done to Carthage. This is one of the most extraordinary passages in all of ancient history. A conquering general, in the moment of his greatest victory, thinking about the mortality of his own empire. The sources are Polybius, Histories 38, preserved in Appian and in Diodorus Siculus. The lamp burns low. Your daughter is asleep against the far wall. The oven behind you is banked, the coals glowing under a layer of gray ash, still warm enough to fire again at dawn. On the shelf, the depleted sacks of barley. On the ledge above it, your linen headcloth folded, still smelling of your hair, you lie down on your pallet. You do not undress. Outside your window, the city is quiet. In 6 weeks, Roman soldiers will burn this street. The oven will crack. The bakery will collapse. 200,000 Carthaginians will be killed or sold into slavery in 6 days. 122 years later, a new oven will be built on the ruins of this one. Rome will resettle the site as a colony. They will call it Carthago Iulia. It will become one of the largest cities in the empire. But the woman who fires that new oven will speak Latin. The bread will be from Italian wheat. The gods on her wall will be Roman gods. The city will rise again as Roman Carthage. Punic Carthage will not. That is the difference between destroying a place and destroying a civilization. A place can be rebuilt. A civilization, once gone, is gone. And in your bakery, the coals cool under the ash.